Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to introduce everyone to my new doggy. His name is Bailey, and he yawns a lot. So I adopted him from a rescue in February. Had a couple week trial and everything, so I adopted him just before everything started getting shut down and stuff. Decided to rescue a new dog just because Lexi, who's around here somewhere, but she's she's nowhere near as snuggly as this little guy is, and she had been so used to having another dog around with Joey, and after Joey passed away last year, I started getting worried about her because she wasn't eating as much as she used to, and just a bunch of things. And so I was like, you know what, let's get another dog in here. But I did want a smaller dog, because Lexi's, she ranges between 35 and 40 pounds, and Joey was about 50 pounds, and I wanted someone that could snuggle with me on my lap, especially since after I had lost my cats and everything as well, so I wanted a cat-sized dog. And Bailey happens to be 11 pounds, and he's exactly the same size as my cat Maxie was. He's just a little bit sweeter than my cat was, because my cat was a little psycho kitty and everything. But you can see how sweet he absolutely is. He's really adorable, very soft, and he's he loves getting his pets and snuggles and everything. So I finally have the lap dog of my dreams. Doesn't mean I love Lexi any less, because she's adorable and fluffy and sweet and everything. But she's never been much of a snuggler. She will snuggle with me if I will put a pillow next to me. She'll snuggle with the pillow. She will not snuggle with me or with anybody when you're touching. I mean, she and Joey even wouldn't snuggle with each other that way. They were very like the don't touch me kind of dogs. You know, but Joey was always a good boy. Lexi's a good girl. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful dogs. Just not terribly snuggly, so I wanted to try and get a snuggle pup, and Bailey has turned into a very big snuggler, so I've just kind of loved having him around. Like I said, I've had him since February. He wasn't completely housebroken when I adopted him, even though he was about 10 months old at the time. He's just over a year now. Still working on this housebreaking. He's a little bit of a stubborn one, and everything. He was supposed to be in group training in March or April, and unfortunately that got postponed. That's gonna hopefully start in June with appropriate social distancing and all that kind of stuff happening. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully I can get some help on getting him, because there's two problems with him right now. One, he can't figure out the dog door. If I can take the flap off the dog door, or it actually has two flaps, but I tried with just one flap and that wasn't enough, so I took both flaps off. So right now the dog door is just a big open hole, and he will go through that just fine, no problem, in and out. Put just one flap up, and he'll bat at it with his paw, which is adorable, but it doesn't get him through the door. He has started nosing into it a little bit with his nose, but he won't continue to go through it. I'm not quite sure if he's scared of it or what exactly is going on. I've been working with him using treats, using, you know, positive reinforcement, encouraging words, toys, squeaky toys and things. I mean, I've been trying, like, there's all these tutorials on websites and things about how to train your dog to use a dog door, and I have tried pretty much every technique I've found, and either he is just really stubborn, or I'm doing something wrong, or I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the trainers have to say about that when I get him into the group training. And because of the whole door thing, we're still having some housebreaking issues. With the flap off, he'll go outside and go potty and everything. Well, he'll pee outside, but for some reason he thinks it's perfectly acceptable to still poop inside. And I've managed, you know, obviously at first he was peeing everywhere in the house, and I actually had him wear little doggy diapers initially until we got got him consistently going outside. And he'll do that as long as the flap on the door isn't there. But as soon as the flap at the door is up, he pees inside. So if I have to close the flap for any reason, like if it's really cold outside, or if it's starting to rain really heavily or whatever, then the diaper has to go back on. However, even though without the flap, he, like I said, he will pee outside no problem, he still poops inside anyway. And I haven't been able to figure out how to convey to him that if you pee outside, that you should also poop outside. Yes, we've been talking about this, haven't we? And it's been an interesting challenge, because I actually have some training stuff. So I have a spray that I use that cleans up anytime he pees in the house, and so when he was still doing that, before I had him in the diapers and everything, I was cleaning it up and basically deodorizing the carpet and cleaning everything. But I also have another spray that you use outside. It kind of has pheromones or whatever in it to encourage a dog, like, hey, this is where you pee. And so that's really helped in terms of encouraging him and to teach him of, okay, this is where I go to pee. However, for some reason, there isn't any kind of a training spray or any way to teach him, oh, like, if you're peeing here, you should also poop here. So trying to get him to understand this concept has been a challenge. But, you know, other than that, he's been pretty good. He is a bit of a chewer, and he has chewed on one piece of furniture so far. But I've managed to, like, okay, we've addressed that, and he's kind of, I've gotten, I had a lot of chew toys in the house anyway. Lexi and Joey love chewing, but they were very gentle chewers. They didn't actually chew their toys to destroy them. I mean, early on when they were younger they did. There used to be destroyed toys everywhere, but in the last few years they just didn't destroy their toys. It was kind of interesting. Hey, Lexi. Lexi's right over here, but she's like, you know, again, she is the queen of social distancing, I can tell you that. But anyway, so yes, so that was Bailey, and he's been an entertaining addition to the home. You know, he's young, he's rambunctious, he's still learning, but he's figuring things out and stuff. With the two exceptions, I've really gotten him to improve his behavior in a lot of areas, and he's just real sweet and gentle, and he's real quiet. As far as I can tell, just looking at him, because the rescue billed him as a Pomeranian Sheltie mix, but he's not either of those. He's not fluffy enough to have any Pomeranian in him. And looking at his body shape and looking at his characteristics and his behavior, I'm pretty much convinced that he's a Chiweenie, so Chihuahua and Dachshund mix. And I'm getting a DNA test run. I'm still waiting for the kit to come in. And once that kit comes in, I'm going to test and see if that can tell me a little bit of what he's mixed with. I mean, I'm pretty darn sure that he's got Chihuahua in him, and I'm really sure he's got Dachshund in him. His body is like really, really long, and his legs are, they're not super stumpy like a Dachshund's are, but they're definitely shorter than they should be based off the length of his body. And so that's where, and I've looked up because there's long-haired Dachshunds and there's long-haired Chihuahuas, and I've looked up photos of long-haired Chiweenies, and a lot of them look exactly like Bailey does, because he's got the Chihuahua ears that stand up rather than the Dachshund ears that flip down. But he's got but he's got the personality of a Chihuahua for the most part, but he's got all of the, he's got a lot of the cute Chihuahua personality, but he doesn't have any of the bad stuff. He's very quiet. He doesn't yip or bark, hardly at all. I mean, just a little bit. And he's not aggressive. He's real friendly with lots of people. I mean, from my understanding, I think Chihuahuas tend to bond with a single person and then are very aggressive to anyone outside of their owners. And Bailey, thankfully, has not shown that tendency at all. He's actually quite sweet with everybody. He's sweet with my roommate. He's anytime. Before everything got shut down, I had some friends that would come over and watch TV with me, or one friend of mine helped me fix my fireplace when the, I think the coupler, I forget what it was, a part of the lighting mechanism broke, and he's got a background in electrician background and stuff, so he fixed it for me. And he has always been real sweet with everyone. And everything, so that's been really, really good. So yeah, so anyway, that's what I've been doing during this quarantine, is basically trying to train and get to know my new dog, besides, you know, just writing and doing all the other normal things that I've been doing most of the time. No real updates transition-wise. I'm pretty much done. I think I mentioned this in the last video, probably. It's been a while, but, you know, I'm done with all my surgeries. I'm just taking my testosterone now, and that's it. Health-wise, I'm sure I've mentioned that I've had abdominal problems, abdominal pain problems, and I'm finally, the last time I had a attack with my stomach, I was like, I'm just getting sick and tired of these happening. And so I went and saw my GP, and I was like, can I go see a gastroenterologist? Because this is just getting ridiculous. She was just going to be like, well, I can, you know, write you a prescription, and I can send you to a surgeon, and this and that. And it's like, I want to see a gastroenterologist, and I want to get to the bottom of exactly what's going on with me before we just jump right into surgeries or whatnot. So she agreed. And so I had a virtual visit with a gastroenterologist, and so far he's, you know, we've run some blood work on me, and my blood work's actually looking pretty good overall. Did an ultrasound, and the main thing was, because we know that I have gallstones, okay, this is a known thing, I've known I've had gallstones for 12 years. I'm not convinced that that's the problem. If they are the problem, I want the doctor to explain to me exactly why. So he said, you know, we did the ultrasound, he's like, well, you know, there are gallstones in there, but they don't look, nothing looks inflamed, nothing looks impacted, they're not blocking any of the ducts. So he actually agreed with me. He's like, yeah, I don't think it's the gallstones either, especially based off of my symptoms. And then, the last test he ran is called a HIDA scan. So I had to go in to the hospital. It was a 2-hour test where I had to basically lie down, and they had an IV in me and injected me with some radioactive something. And then after an hour, once the radioactive stuff had gotten through, all the way through into my bile ducts and into my gallbladder and into my liver, so that they could see all of the functioning of that with the scan going, because I was basically lying there and they had this big, it wasn't, I don't know if it was a CAT scanner, it was just they didn't call it a CAT scan, it was just a HIDA scan, so it was a scanner that could see the radioactive material as it was moving through my system. And then they injected me with something else, I forget exactly what it was called, but it basically is supposed to make the gallbladder and the liver react as if I had just eaten something. And they wanted to see how they functioned. And so that came back, and apparently, like, the gallbladder is supposed to express at least 35% or more of its contents as a reaction to this stuff, and it only expelled like 0.4% of its contents. So instead of 35%, like less than 1%. So there's that as a thing, but there still is no indication of my bile ducts being blocked or anything from the stones, so there's something else with the functioning of that going on. Although the gastroenterologist is like, yeah, okay, but that still shouldn't present as the kind of pain that I'm having. And the fact that the pain that I'm getting, it comes and goes. There doesn't seem to be any kind of a consistent trigger for it. It's like sometimes I can eat a burger and I might get some discomfort, and sometimes I can eat a burger and nothing. Sometimes I can eat a salad and all of a sudden I'm dying. So, it's not really the kind of food that I'm eating, and I eat healthy most of the time. I mentioned burgers, but I don't even eat burgers that often. I really don't. I try to eat healthy. I try to follow a mostly paleo diet. Not really. I mean, I'm not that strict. I don't follow any specific diet as much as, I try to eat lean proteins and veggies and fruit and whole grains most of the time. I'd say about 75% of my diet is that. And then the other 25% is, I'll have a burger here or a pizza here or whatever. That kind of thing. I don't drink soda. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I do like a glass of wine with dinner, but that's about it. Every now and again I'll have a cocktail or something, but it's not a frequent thing whatsoever. So these are all the things that I've been talking to my doctor about, and he's like, yeah, that's not, gallstones wouldn't be involved in any of this kind of thing and everything, and especially since there's no consistent trigger, because if it's the gallbladder, then consistently every time I eat like a really high-fat meal, then I should be having pain. And it's not. I consistently don't have that. And in fact, a lot of the times when I've had the pain, I had either hardly eaten at all that day, or I had eaten super healthy that day, and I still had an attack. And right now, the last 2 or 3 weeks now, I've had no symptoms at all, no discomfort. I just feel normal, I feel healthy, I feel good. But the previous 6 or 8 weeks, I had like this constant gnawing discomfort right here. And a couple of times, and the one that really triggered me to go see the doctor again, and this is the pain that I've been having the most problem with, and it's like right here, right below where my ribs are, right where my stomach is, and it gets to the point where it feels like a burning hot coal is sitting right there, and it gets to be pretty painful. I mean, if you go by the 10-point scale of pain, I'd say I get up to like an 8 on that scale, and it's really not good. In fact, I've been to the ER twice because of it, and sometimes they can give me 2 or 3 different kinds of painkillers before it finally goes away. Sometimes a muscle relaxant will help more in terms of mitigating the pain than an actual opiate will. And usually, sometimes I can mitigate it with just with a Tylenol, and I'll try Tagamet first, and that sometimes fixes it. Sometimes I'll have to go up and start taking painkillers, and so I'll start with Tylenol, and that sometimes fixes it. Sometimes I'll go up, another level, and I'll take, because I have a bunch of like oxycodones and stuff left over from my surgeries last year because I never took them, and so I'll take one of those, and sometimes that works. And like the last attack I had, I took an oxycodone and just nothing. Didn't get rid of the pain at all. I was in misery for hours. And if we hadn't been going through this whole COVID-19 stuff, I might have gone to the ER again to get some relief. But this time I was like, you know what? No, let me try. And I actually had some Valium in the house. Also left over from one of my surgeries, and that's a muscle relaxant among other things, and so I took that, and that actually helped finally mitigate the pain. But so it's been a weird thing. So the gastroenterologist is like, okay, so he's gonna see me in a couple months, and then if my symptoms persist, he's gonna try and do another endoscopy. We did an endoscopy 2 years ago, and all they were able to tell me was, oh yeah, your stomach lining is inflamed. Don't know why. They did all the tests, they biopsied it and tested for cancer and ulcers and H. pylori and all the other things, and everything came back negative, like I didn't have any of that. So it's like, okay, then what? And they were like, well, we don't know. So I've been taking Nexium every day for the last 2 years because it helps reduce the how often I get the incidents. So it's just, you know, we're you know, going up a creek without a paddle at this point, because we don't, you know, like, the doctor still doesn't know what exactly it is. And whether or not, you know, removing my gallbladder will fix it or not, because, you know, none of the signs point to the gallbladder, even though, yes, we have gallstones, and yes, it's not expressing itself the way it should, so there might be some gallbladder function problems. But even then, he's not sure if that's actually the problem or not. So we'll see if I end up getting gallbladder surgery this year or not, depending on how everything turns out. And we'll see if that actually helps or not. We'll see. I'm skeptical at this point, but you know, if he seriously does recommend it, then I'm like, all right, fine, I'll stop fighting it and I'll take care of it. The main reason I've been fighting against this is because my grandmother had hers out, and like, not everyone has problems digesting without their gallbladder, but some people do. My grandmother struggled a lot with, and she was very restrictive in terms of what she could eat after her gallbladder was removed. I mean, obviously she was suffering before it was removed, but she suffered a lot after as well. She struggled a lot with digestive issues afterwards. And because I have inherited a number of her ailments and conditions, I'm just afraid that I'm genetically going to be predisposed to that as well, and so that would really restrict my diet and everything, and I'd like to avoid that, if possible. So, I mean, if I end up having to have that surgery, I swear I'm going to go out for surf and turf, and even if I have to get it delivered or whatever, but I'm having lobster and steak and everything else, all the things that my grandmother couldn't eat, before the gallbladder goes out, because, you know. But, anyway, that's what's all been going on with me the last few months. I hope all of you are staying safe and healthy, and doing everything you can to stay healthy for you and your family and everything else. And until the next time I make an update, I hope you all take care. Bye.